As I've been talking with people about AI and this crazy world of technology lately, the Tower of Babel has come up several times in those conversations. And I wanted to explore that story a little bit more and try to understand that I think there's a deeper meaning than we're giving it credit. It's easy to look at the story and say, see, that's the problem with technology. I think that's overly simplistic and a lazy read of what's happening in the Tower of Babel. So let's look into the story a little bit more. It's only 9 verses, so it's fairly short. It's early on in Genesis. It's not a very long story. It's not enumerated much. So a lot is happening in a short amount of time. The first question we need to understand is, what were the humans doing? What were the people doing with the Tower of Babel? Certainly they were creating a tower, but the intent is what's important behind it. It's not the thing of in and of itself that gives something meaning. It's how we use it. So it's our intent that gets applied to something that gives it purpose and definition. So the tower in this case, they were building it to what? And they say it in the Bible, to reach into heaven, to achieve the highest point, to be a part of the divine order of things. That's the part that was dangerous. So it wasn't the building of itself. It was the reaching into heaven. It was the ability to define good and evil, the creation of our own morality. This is the problem, and this is what was happening with the Tower of Babel. And we see this play out. We've seen this. Nietzsche talked about this in his book. I think it was Of Good and Evil. I think it was a different one, but he talks about the death of God, that we have killed God. He lamented that and basically said at this point we needed to become Ubermensch, Supermen, in order to be able to create our own values. But this is exactly what the story of the Tower of Babel is warning us against. So what happens? Well, in the story, what happens is language is confounded. And again, oversimplistically, we can say this is what explains all the languages of the world. But I don't think that makes sense either. So if we think about this from a natural perspective, there would have been hundreds, if not thousands of people working on this tower together. And clearly they all have the same language. The biblical story says so, and we can assume that because they were able to at least start together. But through the course of that, they were no longer able to communicate. Their language was confounded. It doesn't make sense that all of a sudden people were speaking different languages. That makes absolutely no sense realistically. What's a far more realistic, we see this playing out today, is that no matter what words we used with each other, we could not communicate. That means we use words to mean different things. Words have different definitions. That's confounding language. That's confusing language. So we could all still be talking English, or all communicating in Aramaic, or all communicating in Hebrew or Spanish or the language du jour. It doesn't matter. If we use words to mean fundamentally different things, our language is confused. This, I believe, tells us exactly what's going on in the Tower of Babel. And I think we're playing this out. I think we've been playing this out for decades, if not centuries. Ultimately, the story of the Tower of Babel says that if we create our own values, if we try to reach into heaven and create our own divine order, our own morality, put something else in the highest place, we will necessarily confuse our language. We will use words in different ways and talk past each other. For example, words like freedom or liberty, words like equality, words like love. We can use these words but mean different things, and that means we talk past each other. So exploring this a little bit more, it's easy to think about this and say, well, see, that's people trying to be tricky and twist the words. So that's a Machiavellian view. And I don't deny that does exist, but I think it's very rare. It doesn't account for the sheer volume of people that are talking past each other, that are using words in different ways. So I don't think this is a matter of trickery. I think what's happening is, again, it's more fundamental in human nature. It's more fundamental in reality. And the Bible warns us about this. The reality is, if you create your own moral order, your own values at the top, what you are necessarily doing is creating a new frame or filter through which you see the world. And when you interpret the world differently, you are naturally going to assume that concepts mean something a little bit different. It's not nefarious, or at least it's not malicious from the individual's intent. It's simply a matter of course. When we don't agree on the same moral value structure, we don't agree on the same stories that define our culture fractures. Our language becomes confused. For example, with equality, do we mean equality of outcomes, or do we mean equality of opportunity? Because those are two fundamentally different definitions. Those are fundamentally different ways of interpreting what equality means. And which way you interpret equality will depend on what you have placed at the highest point, the values that you think are the most important. That will define how you interpret a word like equality. So we can see this playing out again over and over. Certainly AI poses a danger, but not in and of itself, only when we put it in the highest good, when we place AI as the thing that is going to solve our problems. It's going to give us our answers. It's going to represent truth. When we do this, when we use AI with the intent of making it give us the divine moral order, that's creating a Tower of Babel. So hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this was illuminating. I think it was a little bit deeper story than I think we tend to give it credit for. Keep bringing awesome to the people.